Captain Maya Rodriguez gripped the bridge railing as the USS Defiance shuddered under another plasma barrage. The Zephyrian fleet had Earth surrounded, their obsidian ships blotting out the stars like a plague of metallic locusts. 200 vessels strong, they'd come for humanity's complete extinction. "Shields down to 30%, shouted Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison from the tactical station, sweat beading on his forehead. "We can't take much more of this beating." Maya's dark eyes blazed with defiance as she watched another human destroyer explode in a brilliant flash of orange and white. The Meridian, commanded by our old friend Captain Sarah Chun, disintegrated into debris and scattered atoms. 23 ships remained of Earth's once proud fleet of 60. "Ma'am, we're receiving a surrender demand from the Zephyrian flagship," reported Communications Officer Elena Vasquez, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. "Tell them they can kiss my—" Maya paused, catching herself. "Tell them Earth doesn't surrender. Not today, not ever. The Zephyrians had been humanity's allies once, before the resource wars began, before they decided humanity was too dangerous to exist, before they systematically hunted down every human colony beyond the Sol system." Maya remembered watching footage from New Geneva, from Titan Base, from the orbital platforms around Jupiter. Millions of humans, vaporized or enslaved. "Admiral, I'm detecting something strange on long-range sensors," called out sensor specialist Marcus Thompson. His fingers danced across his console, double-checking readings that seemed impossible. There's something big out there. Really big." "Define big, Thompson," Maya demanded, her attention torn between the immediate battle and this new mystery. 12 kilometers long, Admiral. Maybe more. It's just sitting there, 2 million clicks out from the engagement zone. But here's the weird part. It doesn't match any known ship configuration in our databases. Maya frowned. In the middle of humanity's final battle, an unknown vessel decides to show up. The timing was either incredibly fortunate or suspiciously convenient. Can you get a visual? Negative, Admiral. Whatever it is, it's running completely silent. No emissions, no energy signatures. It's like looking at a ghost. The Defiance rocked again as 3 Zephyrian cruisers focused their fire on her port side. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits, and the acrid smell of burned electronics filled the bridge. "Return fire. Target their lead cruiser," Maya commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. The ship's massive railguns responded with thunderous precision, sending tungsten slugs racing toward their enemies at a significant fraction of light speed. One slug punched clean through a Zephyrian cruiser's hull, causing a cascade of secondary explosions that tore the vessel apart from the inside. "That's for the Meridian, you bastards," Jake muttered under his breath. But for every enemy ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The Zephyrian fleet was simply too vast, too well-coordinated. Maya watched as the destroyer Prometheus, commanded by the youngest captain in the fleet, 28-year-old Alex Williams, made a desperate ramming run at a Zephyrian battleship. The explosion was visible even from their distance, a brief star that honored the sacrifice of 400 brave souls. "Admiral," Elena's voice was strained, "I'm picking up chatter from the Zephyrian command frequency. They're laughing. They're actually laughing about how easy this is." Maya's jaw tightened. The arrogance of these creatures never ceased to amaze her. They'd once been humanity's partners in exploration, their technology complementing human ingenuity perfectly. The Zephyrians were master engineers, capable of building ships that could fold space itself. Humans were strategists, the fighters, the ones who never gave up even when facing impossible odds. Together, they'd mapped 17 star systems and established thriving colonies on dozens of worlds. Maya had even been friends with several Zephyrian officers during the joint expeditions. Commander Veltar had been like a brother to her, sharing stories of his homeworld's crystalline cities and bioluminescent forests. That was before the Xerian incident. The discovery of the Xerian system had changed everything. A single planet, rich in quantum crystals that could revolutionize faster-than-light travel. Both species claimed it. Both had valid arguments. But when diplomatic negotiations failed, the Zephyrians made their choice. They attacked a human research station, killing 300 scientists and their families. Maya had been there. She'd watched her mentor, Dr. Elizabeth Harper, die in her arms as Zephyrian plasma bolts tore through the station's hull. She'd held the woman who'd been like a mother to her, listening to her final words. "Don't let hatred consume you, Maya, but don't let them win either. Admiral." Thompson's voice snapped her back to the present. "That unknown contact, it's moving." Massive energy spike detected. On the main screen, space itself seemed to shimmer and bend. Reality twisted like heated glass, and suddenly, where empty space had been moments before, a ship materialized. No, not just a ship, a fortress, a cathedral of metal and energy that dwarfed even the largest Zephyrian dreadnoughts. The vessel was unlike anything Maya had ever seen. Its hull was a deep midnight blue, almost black, covered in what looked like circuit patterns that pulsed with soft silver light. Weapon ports lined its surface like the eyes of some cosmic predator, and massive engines at its stern glowed with an energy signature that made Maya's instruments scream warnings. "Jesus Christ," Jake whispered. "What is that thing?" "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Maya Rodriguez of the United Earth Fleet. She transmitted on all frequencies. Please identify yourself." The response came not in words, but in action. The mysterious ship's weapons powered up with sound like rolling thunder, and Maya felt a chill run down her spine. If this newcomer was hostile, humanity's last stand had just become a massacre. But then, something unexpected happened. The ship's guns didn't target the human fleet. Instead, they swiveled toward the Zephyrian vessels with mechanical precision that was almost artistic in its perfection. The first salvo was breathtaking in its beauty and terrifying in its power. Beams of pure white energy lanced out from the mysterious vessel, each one perfectly aimed, each one finding its mark with surgical precision. 3 Zephyrian cruisers simply ceased to exist, their atoms scattered to the solar wind. The bridge of the Defiance fell silent, except for the soft hum of electronics and the distant rumble of their own engines. Maya stared at the tactical display, watching as the unknown ship methodically began dismantling the Zephyrian fleet with the casual efficiency of a farmer harvesting wheat. "Are you getting this, Thompson?" she asked quietly. "Yes, ma'am. Energy readings they're off the charts. This ship is outputting more power than our entire fleet combined. And those weapons, I've never seen anything like them." A new voice crackled over the communication system, and Maya's heart skipped a beat. It was human. Definitely human, with a slight accent she couldn't place. "Earth Fleet. This is Captain David Chun of the Starship Retribution. Sorry we're late to the party. Hope you saved some fun for us." Maya's hands trembled slightly as she activated her microphone. "Captain Chun, this is Admiral Rodriguez. We weren't expecting reinforcements. Where the hell did you come from?" Chen's laugh was warm and familiar, like an old friend's embrace. "That's a long story, Admiral. But the short version is, we've been out here in the dark for a while, waiting for the right moment to introduce ourselves. Looks like that moment is now." The Retribution continued its devastating assault on the Zephyrian fleet. Maya watched in amazement as the ship seemed to dance through space, its massive bulk moving with impossible grace. Enemy fire struck its shields and simply dissipated like rain on a window. "Captain Chun," Maya transmitted, "I have to ask, are you human? Because that ship of yours doesn't match any Earth technology I've ever seen." "Oh, we're human, Admiral. Very human. We're just, well, let's say we've had some advantages you folks back home haven't had access to. But we'll get to that later. Right now, we got some Zephyrian scum to deal with." The battle turned into a rout. The Zephyrian fleet, which had seemed so invincible moments before, found themselves facing a predator they couldn't match. The Retribution moved through their formation like a shark through a school of fish, its weapons speaking with voices of thunder and lightning. Maya watched one Zephyrian dreadnought attempt to ram the mysterious ship. The massive vessel, easily 3 times the size of Defiance, struck the Retribution's shields and simply stopped. The impact should have been devastating, but the unknown ship barely seemed to notice. A moment later, the dreadnought was reduced to its component atoms by a single, precisely aimed energy beam. Admiral Rodriguez. Chen's voice came through again, and Maya detected something else in his tone now. Something harder, colder. We're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian flagship. They want to talk. Patch it through, Maya ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was one Maya recognized. High Commander Zelnoff, the architect of humanity's near extinction. His voice was like grinding metal, filtered through translation software that somehow made his words even more ominous. Unknown vessel. The alien commander spoke. You have interfered in a lawful enforcement action. The human species has been declared a galactic threat by the Zephyrian High Council. Stand down immediately or face the consequences. The response from the Retribution was not what Maya expected. Captain Chen's laughter filled the communications channel, but it wasn't warm anymore. It was sharp, bitter, and filled with years of accumulated rage. Lawful enforcement action? Chen's voice dripped with sarcasm. Is that what you're calling genocide these days, Zelnoff? How very civilized of you. Tell me, how many children did you kill on Titan Base? How many families did you murder on New Geneva? There was a pause, and when Zelnoff spoke again, his voice carried a note of uncertainty. How do you know those designations? You're not in our databases. Oh, we're in your databases, old friend. We're just filed under missing, presumed dead. But we're not dead, are we? We're very much alive. And we've been planning this reunion for a very long time. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. There was something in Chen's voice, something that spoke of pain and loss and hunger for revenge that had been carefully nurtured over years of exile. Captain Chun, she transmitted on a private channel. Who are you people? Really? The response came immediately, and it explained everything and nothing at the same time. We're the survivors, Admiral, the ones who got away when the Zephyrians started their campaign of extermination. We're the crew of the deep space research vessel Prometheus, the colonists from the outer rim settlements. The explorers who were too far out to come home when the killing started. Maya's breath caught in her throat. The Prometheus had been declared lost with all hands 3 years ago, along with several other deep space missions. If Chun was telling the truth, we've been hiding, Admiral, learning, growing, and most importantly, preparing. We found something out there in the dark between the stars. Something the Zephyrians have been trying to keep secret for a very long time. On the main screen, the Retribution continued its systematic destruction of the enemy fleet. Half the Zephyrian ships were gone now, reduced to debris and memory. The remainder were trying to retreat, but the mysterious human vessel was faster than anything Maya had ever seen. What did you find? She asked, though part of her wasn't sure she wanted to know. We found their source, Admiral, the place where the Zephyrians get their advanced technology. And we learned something very interesting about our former allies. They're not the master engineers we thought they were. They're scavengers, thieves. Everything they have, they stole from someone else. The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. If the Zephyrians were using stolen technology, if their claims of technological superiority were false, the species they stole from, Chin continued, his voice now carrying a note of grim satisfaction, they left behind quite a few gifts, including the blueprints for ships like the Retribution. And Admiral, they left behind weapons that make our little friend here look like a firecracker. Maya watched as another wave of Zephyrian reinforcements dropped out of hyperspace, 36 fresh ships ready to avenge their fallen comrades. Her heart sank. Even with the Retribution's help, those odds were still overwhelming. But Captain Chin seemed unperturbed. Retribution to all human vessels. He transmitted on an open channel. You might want to back off a bit. We're about to demonstrate what happens when you steal from the wrong people. The mysterious ship's hull began to glow with an inner light, and Maya felt her instruments registering energy levels that should have been impossible. The circuit-like patterns on the Retribution's surface pulsed faster and brighter, and space around the vessel began to distort. What's happening? Jake asked, his voice tight with anticipation and fear. Maya didn't answer, because she didn't have an answer. She just watched as the Retribution seemed to fold in on itself, its massive bulk compressing into a point of brilliant light. For a moment, She thought the ship had destroyed itself. Then the light exploded outward. The wave of energy that erupted from the retribution washed over the Zephyrian fleet like a cosmic tsunami. Maya watched in awe as enemy ships simply stopped. Their weapons powered down. Their engines went silent. Their shields collapsed. In the space of 30 seconds, 36 of the galaxy's most advanced warships became nothing more than floating scrap metal. Electromagnetic pulse, Thompson reported, his voice filled with wonder. But on a scale I've never seen before. They didn't destroy the ships. They just turned them off. Maya stared at the tactical display, where dozens of Zephyrian vessels drifted helplessly in space. Their crews were alive, their ships intact, but completely powerless. It was a demonstration of mercy and overwhelming force that left her speechless. Zephyrian fleet, Chen's voice carried across all frequencies. This is your only warning. Withdraw from human space immediately. Take your dead and your wounded and never return. If we see Zephyrian ships in this system again, there will be no mercy, no quarter, no survivors. High Commander Zelnatha's response was predictable. You cannot threaten the Zephyrian Empire. We have hundreds of ships, thousands of worlds. You are nothing but a single vessel with stolen technology. Captain Chen's laughter filled the communications channel again, but now it carried a note of genuine amusement. Stolen technology? Oh, Zelnath, you really don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Let me educate you. The Retribution's hull began to shift and change, segments sliding apart to reveal hidden compartments and weapon systems that made Maya's breath catch in her throat. The ship was bigger than she'd thought, much bigger, and it wasn't alone. Space shimmered around the mysterious vessel, and one by one, other ships began to decloak. Not as massive as a Retribution, but still larger and more advanced than anything in Earth's fleet. Maya counted 12 vessels, each one bristling with weapons that could have obliterated entire planets. Meet the Terran Expeditionary Fleet, Chen announced with obvious pride. We've been busy while you've been playing war, Zelnath. Very busy indeed. Maya felt tears running down her cheeks, though she couldn't say exactly why. Relief? Certainly. Joy at humanity's unexpected salvation. But also something else, something deeper. Pride. These were her people, her species, and they had not only survived extinction, but thrived in the darkness between the stars. How many survivors? She asked quietly. 2 million, Admiral, Jim replied, his voice soft with emotion. Men, women, children. Scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers. We've built a fleet, established colonies, created a civilization. And we've never forgotten what the Zephyrians did to us. On the tactical display, the enemy fleet was in full retreat. Those ships that could still move were fleeing toward the edge of the system, carrying their disabled comrades with them. The Zephyrian invasion of Earth was over, ended not by superior firepower or brilliant strategy, but by the return of humanity's lost children. Admiral Rodriguez. Chen's voice carried a note of formality now. I'd like to request permission to come aboard your vessel. I think it's time we had a proper conversation. Maya wiped the tears from her cheeks and straightened her uniform. Permission granted, Captain. Dock with our main shuttle bay. And Captain, welcome home. 2 hours later, Maya found herself sitting across from Captain David Chun in her private quarters aboard the Defiance. He was younger than she'd expected, perhaps 45, with prematurely gray hair and eyes that held too much experience for his age. His uniform was unfamiliar, but clearly military, dark blue with silver trim that matched the circuit patterns on his ship. You want to know how we survived, he said, correctly interpreting her expression. It's not a pretty story, Admiral. Maya poured 2 glasses of whiskey from her private reserve, the good stuff she'd been saving for either victory or defeat. I have time, Captain, and after what you've done today, I think you've earned the right to tell it however you want. Chun accepted the glass gratefully and took a small sip before beginning. When the Zephyrians started their extermination campaign, those of us in the deep space missions were scattered across half the galaxy, isolated, cut off, with no way to get home and no idea what was happening to Earth. He paused, staring into his whiskey as if it held the memories he was trying to access. The first we knew about it was when a badly damaged courier ship found us near the Proxima Research Station. Captain Maria Santos. She'd managed to escape the attack on New Geneva with about 30 survivors. The things she told us, the things she'd seen. Maya waited patiently as Chin gathered himself. She'd heard similar stories from other survivors, fragments of reports that had painted a picture of systematic genocide that hadn't nearly succeeded. We tried to go home, he continued. 12 ships, maybe 1,500 people total. But the Zephyrians had blockaded all the major hyperspace routes. Every time we tried to break through, we lost people, good people. My wife. He stopped talking, and Maya saw the pain that crossed his features. The loss was still fresh, even after all these years. I'm sorry, she said quietly. Chin nodded his thanks and took another sip of whiskey. We were running out of options. Our ships were damaged, our supplies were low, and we were being hunted by an enemy we couldn't fight. That's when Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, one of our xenoarchaeologists, made a suggestion that saved our lives. Maya raised an eyebrow. Rodriguez? Any relation? Your sister, actually, Chin said with a slight smile. She sends her love, by the way. She's been following your career through the intelligence networks we've established. Maya felt her heart skip a beat. Amanda had been listed as missing, presumed dead, when the research vessel Magellan had failed to return from its mission to the Outer Rim. To know that her sister was alive, that she was out there somewhere among the stars. Where is she? Maya asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Safe, Chin assured her, and very much looking forward to seeing you again. But let me finish the story first. Amanda suggested we head for the Veil Nebula, where she'd been tracking some unusual energy readings before the war started. She thought we might find somewhere to hide, maybe even some old technology we could use to level the playing field. Chen's expression grew thoughtful, and Maya could see that whatever they found in the nebula had changed everything for the survivors. What we found, he said slowly, was the Architect's Graveyard. Maya had never heard the term before, but something about it sent a chill down her spine. The Architect's Graveyard? The remains of a civilization that existed millions of years ago, a species that called themselves the Architects, though we never learned their real name. They were incredible admiral. Their technology was so advanced it might as well have been magic. They could manipulate space and time, create matter from pure energy, build structures that spanned entire star systems. Chin paused to take another sip of his whiskey, and Maya found herself leaning forward, hanging on every word. But they're gone now, he continued, wiped out by something they call the Devourers. We found their records, their warnings, their desperate attempts to preserve their knowledge for whoever might come after them. And we learned something that would have changed the entire course of galactic history, if anyone had known it. What? Maya asked, though part of her was afraid of the answer. The Zephyrians aren't the first species to discover the Architect ruins. Over the past 1,000,000 years, dozens of civilizations have found fragments of their technology and used it to build galactic empires. But they all made the same mistake. They thought they understood what they were dealing with. They thought they could control it. Chen's expression grew grave, and Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature in her quarters. The Architects didn't just leave behind technology, Admiral. They left behind warnings. Warnings about the Devourers, and about what happens to civilizations that abuse Architect tech. The Zephyrians have been using stolen Architect technology for centuries, growing more and more dependent on it. And they've triggered something that should have stayed buried. Maya set down her whiskey glass with shaking hand. What are you saying, Captain? I'm saying the Zephyrian Empire is about to face the same fate as every other civilization that got too greedy with Architect technology. The Devourers are coming, Admiral. And when they arrive, they're going to make the Zephyrian extermination campaign look like a children's game. The implications of Chen's words hit Maya like a physical blow. If he was right, if the Devourers were as dangerous as he claimed, then humanity's victory today might have been nothing more than a brief reprieve before facing an even worse threat. How long do we have? She asked. Unknown, Chen admitted. The Architect records are incomplete, and their timekeeping system doesn't translate well to our measurements. But based on the patterns we've observed, probably less than 5 years. Maybe as little as 2. Maya stood up and began pacing her quarters, her mind racing as she tried to process everything Chin had told her. Humanity had just survived one attempt at extinction, only to learn that a far worse threat was approaching. "What can we do?" she asked finally. Chin smiled, and for the first time since he'd come aboard, Maya saw hope in his expression. "We can do what humans have always done, Admiral. We can adapt. We can learn. We can survive." The architects left behind more than just warnings. They left behind weapons, defenses, entire technologies that could give us a fighting chance. He stood up and moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars where the Zephyrian fleet had been just hours before. "We spent the last 3 years studying their records, building our own versions of their technology. The Retribution and her sister ships are just the beginning. We've got shipyards, research facilities, entire colonies dedicated to preparing for what's coming." Maya joined him at the viewport, and together they watched as a mysterious fleet hung in space like sleeping giants. "What do you need from us?" "Everything," Chin said simply. "Every ship, every person, every resource Earth can spare. We need to evacuate as many people as possible, spread humanity across the galaxy, so that if the worst happens, some of us will survive. And we need to work together to build a defense that might, just might, be enough to stop the Devourers when they arrive." Maya felt a familiar fire burning in her chest, the same determination that had carried her through years of war against the Zephyrians. Humanity had faced extinction before and survived. They would do it again. "You have it," she said firmly. "Whatever you need, however long it takes. Earth stands with the expeditionary fleet." Chin smiled and raised his glass in a toast. "To humanity, Admiral. Lost, but not forgotten. Scattered, but not broken. And never, ever willing to go quietly into the dark." Maya raised her own glass and clinked it against his. "To humanity, Captain. And to the future, whatever it may bring." As they drank, Maya looked out the stars and thought about her sister Amanda, alive somewhere among the distant suns. She thought about the 2 million survivors who had built a new civilization in the darkness between worlds. And she thought about the challenges that lay ahead, the battles yet to be fought, the sacrifices yet to be made. But for the first time in years, Maya Rodriguez felt something she had almost forgotten how to feel. She felt hope. Humanity had been tested by extinction and emerged stronger. They had been scattered across the galaxy and found a way to reunite. And now, facing the greatest threat in galactic history, they would stand together as one species, one people, one indomitable force that refused to surrender to the darkness. The stars beckoned, cold and distant and full of unknown dangers. But humanity was no longer the frightened, isolated species that had once huddled around a single yellow star. They were explorers, survivors, warriors, and dreamers. They were the children of Earth and the inheritors of a galaxy, and they were ready for whatever came next. 6 months later, Admiral Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Starship Defiant, watching as the last of the evacuation transports disappeared into hyperspace. Earth's population had been reduced to essential personnel only, while millions of civilians had been relocated to the new colonies established by the expeditionary fleet. The planet below looked strangely empty, its cities dark and quiet. But it was not abandoned. Earth remained humanity's heart, the symbol of everything they were fighting to preserve. And when the Devourers came, they would find it defended by the finest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Captain David Chin appeared on the main screen, his image transmitted from the bridge of the Retribution. "All evacuation ships have reached their destinations safely, Admiral. Phase 1 of Operation Exodus is complete." Maya nodded, feeling a mixture of sadness and pride as she looked at her homeworld. "Acknowledged, Captain. Begin Phase 2. It's time to take the fight to the enemy." The combined human fleet, now numbering over 200 ships of various sizes and capabilities, began moving toward the edge of the solar system. They were going hunting, seeking out the source of the Devourer threat before it could reach human space. As they accelerated toward the stars, Maya thought about the long journey ahead, the battles to be fought, the sacrifices to be made, the prices to be paid. But she also thought about the strength of the human spirit, the bonds that held their species together, and the love that made life worth defending. Humanity had been tested by extinction and emerged victorious. Now they would face their greatest challenge yet, and they would face it together. The stars awaited, cold and distant and full of promise, and humanity was ready to claim them.